Good evening, everyone. Hi, welcome to the Joint Housing and Community Development Act and Mental Health Board hearings. Before we begin, I just want to turn you over to Jessica just for a few brief comments before we start.
So thank you all so much for coming. It's great to see so many agency representatives here, and this is always a wonderful night for us to hear about the good work your agencies do in Evanston and for Evanston residents, so thank you. As a reminder, please state the name of your organization, your name and title, the name of the program that you're requesting funding for, and then contact information for your agency should anybody hearing this meeting want to volunteer, maybe donate, or access services. So please be sure to add contact information. Please do not read your applications. I promise you that we have read your wonderful applications and we appreciate it. This is really just the briefest overview so that those seeing this meeting broadcast can get to know you and your agencies. And then this is the opportunity to address any questions that maybe came up in the application process or that may come up tonight. So thank you to all. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. We might just start by going around introducing ourselves. Do you want to?
Yep. Hi, my name is Irene Zaya from the Mental Health Board.
Sandy Johnson, Mental Health Board.
George Hall, Mental Health Board. Mike Pierce, Mental Health Board.
Jessica Sales, Mental Health Board.
Ann Rainey, Community Development.
Michael Miro, Community Development.
Glenn Mackey, Community Development.
And just for our board, we have to remember to maybe shimmy the microphones around a bit when we're asking questions. And if you need to turn them off, the push button. So, okay, I think we'll start. First up is books and breakfast.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for your consideration and your time tonight. My name is Kim Hammock. I'm the Executive Director of Books and Breakfast. And just to get my contact information out of the way, my email is kimh@booksbreakfast.org, and you can reach us also on our website, booksbreakfast.org as well. The program we're talking about tonight is our general programming through Books and Breakfast, and I'll tell you a little bit about who we are. So, Books and Breakfast is a before-school program here in Evanston. We provide a morning meal and homework help to Evanston students who need additional support. So we are based at Evanston schools. This past year we were at Dewey Elementary School, Kingsley Elementary School, and Lincolnwood Elementary School, reaching over 120 students in our program. We exist so that every child can enter their classroom really fully ready for daily learning, and we believe that's holistic. That means with a healthy meal, that physical preparation, but also the emotional preparation of knowing that you belong in your school community and that there's someone there who sees you and really values you, and then academically ready with homework complete and a sense of confidence as a learner. Our overall mission is to, in partnership with District 65, to advance educational equity in our schools here in Evanston. We served over 10,000 meals last year and helped finish thousands of pieces of homework. We are really excited about the opportunity to expand our programs in Lincoln Elementary School. We plan to do that in late January or early February of 2019. And through the 2019 calendar year, we hope we can expand from a program that was reaching 120 to 130 students to 170 to 180. So that would be well over 15,000 meals, thousands more pieces of homework finished. We operate our program very heavily on the support of volunteer tutors. So each morning at Books and Breakfast, a kid comes in, they have a healthy meal, and then they're matched up with a tutor for the morning. And those tutors come from three predominant groups. Northwestern students work with us. We have parents from the local school, and then community members who work usually one-on-one with students on homework or reading so that students feel really ready for the school day. Our overall plan for the next 5 years is one of growth. We are being asked to expand to multiple school sites in the district, and we want to do that as much as possible. So what you have before you is a request to help us do just that. There is a $10,000 request to CDBG. That request is to support a transition in my role. I have been working as a site director at Dewey Elementary School, managing that on-the-ground work. I need to move to a full-time executive director role to support the kind of growth that we want to see organizationally. In addition, there's a $20,000 request to the Mental Health Board. That is broken into two parts, $10,000 for helping that program expansion and staffing support at Lincoln Elementary School, that new staff that would start. And then we're also promoting one of our site directors as a part-time role to step into an associate director role to again provide more organizational support, particularly helping us with volunteer recruitment and management. If we're going to grow to that many schools and really provide that kind of care one-on-one for our children, we need to find more people willing to help us do that. So moving Tasha into associate director role will help us do just that. There's one thing that someone submitted a question about our application, about our selection process, and I apologize, it wasn't included. I did respond, but it wasn't included in our application material. So I think the question was, what is your selection process? So just to clarify, we work in collaboration with District 65. So we work every day in school buildings with teachers and social workers and teachers. So teachers recommend students they believe would benefit from our resources, from that healthy meal, from that social emotional support, from that academic boost. They recommend students to the principal, and then the principal then gives priority to that list according to which students qualify for free and reduced lunch. So almost all of our students do qualify for free and reduced lunch. And again, that's a collaborative effort because we want to be as strategic as possible. And when a teacher recommends a child to B&B, that means we've already started a partnership in working with them to support that student and that family. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Cam.
Yeah, I just want to know, how do you gauge the success of your program and determine its success rate and impact on the students that you're serving?
Sure, thank you for that question. We are a relatively young organization, so this fall is our 5-year anniversary. So we're learning and growing about how we measure those things. We keep count of how many meals, how many students, how many interactions we're having with parents, how many homework pieces we are completing. But in addition to that, we are working with teachers to get their feedback on do you see a shift and a change in your students in the classroom? We work with principals to get that same feedback, with students themselves and with parents. So what we want to gauge our success on, we're picking 3 main things. We look at our teachers saying that homework completion is increasing and in a significant way. So that's one of the measures that we'll use to engaging success going forward. Our teachers reporting that 75 to 80% of our students are turning in more completed homework consistently. The other one is what teachers see in terms of social emotional readiness for the day. And then in the same rubric, we want to see our teachers saying that 75 to 80, at minimum, % of our students are more emotionally ready for the start of the day. And the last thing that we're measuring and looking at, again by surveys predominantly, is this sense of confidence as a learner. How's the student reporting that, and what are teachers seeing in the classroom? So those are our main key ways of looking at success right now. We also are working on a data sharing agreement with the district to look at more of the numbers. What's happening in terms of office referrals, what's happening in terms of tardies. Those are some things that we want to lay out over the next year in terms of really targeting what does success look like for us. But right now, we're taking a lot of feedback from teachers to say, do you see this working in your classroom? And how do we know that from those communications and those surveys?
So are those kids making benchmark? Are they below benchmark? Or, are they actually retaining anything from that program that's going to increase their, their understanding or their grade?
Sure, and then right now, we haven't been able to isolate standardized testing movement or grade moving, and getting grades is really difficult at elementary school because there aren't actually grades given out. Even homework completion is not measured from the teachers. There's not a number that we can point to. We want to look at doing that over time. But what we're basing our program off is when a teacher says to me that my kids are coming into the classroom ready in a way that used to take me an hour's worth of instruction time to get them socially and emotionally ready for the day, that to me says that that's worth investing in. And even just purely if you looked at the number of meals that we are serving, we have multiple schools in Evanston, and a lot of people don't know this, that do not provide a meal to students who need access to that. The research there is, it's just kind of beyond proven that if a child enters their school day hungry, that is not setting them up for academic success. So just by making sure that kids that every kid who needs that access is walking in with a full tummy and feeling like, I belong here, I can do this. Research says that's going to translate into the kind of thing we want to see eventually in terms of standardized test scores and grades. We don't have that yet, but we feel like we're doing the things that research says sets you up for that kind of measurable academic success over time.
So the grant you're submitting is to expand from 120 to 170?
Yes.
So without the grant, you wouldn't expand?
We are planning on expanding. We're just looking for multiple ways for additional supporters. And over the last 5 years, we've done a great job of building partnerships, and partnerships at the district level, partnerships with other nonprofits, and building a really committed group of donors. But if we are going to be able to meet the kind of growth that we're being asked to do, we need to diversify those partners financially. So we're going to work on that. I really hope that you say yes, and I hope that that works out as being a good fit for you and what we want to do. But we're committed to finding other ways financially to make this happen. We want to see as many kids who need that resource have it. We want to see Evanston schools work for all children. I think that's what we all want, and this feels like a really tangible way to say we can get better at making that happen. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, next up we have the Harbor.
Good evening. My name is Chris Salyards. I am with the Harbor, the Executive Director for the Harbor. And the application that we have submitted is for our Safe Harbor Emergency Shelter. In order to contact our 24-hour staff, people can call 847-297-8541. For general inquiries, 847-297-8540. Also, you can contact me, KRIS, our name, at theharbor, THEHARBOUR.org. And our website is theharbor.org. So the Harbor is an emergency shelter located in Des Plaines, Illinois. And the Harbor provides shelter services for young women between the ages of 12 and 20 years old in all of northwest suburban Cook County. Historically, the Harbor has served a larger number from Evanston than other communities, although as our application reflected, that has been diffused somewhat. And some of that has been as a direct result of our own outreach efforts into our communities. So the Harbor was started in 1971 to provide homeless youth services to young women who were locked out, run away, or coming to us as a direct result of family dysfunction. Our goal with our young people is family search and unification, or reunification, or for young people who cannot go home, the goal is to provide them with a long-term housing option to keep them safe and to move them toward independence. So last year, the Harbor did provide, well, on the fiscal year, the Harbor provided services to 10 young women from Evanston in our shelter. Of those 10 young women, 9 of them were reunified with family, and 1 of them went to a residential treatment center, which was a planned discharge. The other 3 girls that are not mentioned in our application are from our parenting program, where we provided housing for those young women in Evanston, and they are still in their own apartments, living completely independent from any public funding source. The goal for us is that within the 3 weeks that we have our young women stay with us, that we provide them with exactly what they need. They go to school, they get life skills groups, they get family counseling, they get case management, and the goal, as I said, is to keep them, to discharge them to a safe and secure setting. The Harbor has been providing these services for a very long time, and our success rate is great. We send kids to 4-year universities. We send kids to work. We have strong partnerships with a lot of Evanston agencies such as YOU, Evanston Youth Job Center, Kurt's Cafe, We do provide those services in tandem with the community in order to make sure that our young people are successful. In our shelter, we have like a 98%, and I'd have to look in my notes, success rate of keeping kids in school when they come to the shelter. Very few kids miss even one day. We have strong relationships with the Evanston High School, and we work, again, very closely with YOU to make sure that those minor children are going to school and that their transportation is managed. Sorry, I had a thought, and it is gone.
You're doing really well. You're doing great.
So our request to you this evening is $10,000 to support, from the Mental Health Board, to support our efforts in the home for staff support, and $10,000 from CDBG to, for personnel support. I had a thought and it is completely gone. It was such a good thought as well. Question?
I have a question.
Yes.
I should have said at the start that there's no points for public speaking, so it's totally fine. It's like super nerve-wracking. There's cameras, there's eyes, and you did a really great job. I was the person that submitted all the questions about this agency because I really liked the application. I think there was a lot of really great information in there, and I do appreciate the time that you took to really flesh those answers out. I guess one question I do have is I'm curious how the transport works. Obviously when we're talking about displays, girls from Evanston, back and forth to ETHS, other places, like what does that look like?
Such a good one. Thank you for putting me back on track. So this past year, what I was going to also say was this past year we recognized that our barriers were set too high for our kids. And so in order to accommodate that through a generous donation from the Evanston Community Foundation, we actually started a text for helpline. We're doing active targeted outreach in the community, and one of the things that we recognized was transportation as a barrier for kids getting to us. So now kids can text us, Twitter us, tweet us, social media some way, Facebook us, and then our staff will call them, because what we've learned is that our kids don't use cell phones like most people would. Well, I guess most people text, but so we now also provide transportation. So we have a crisis worker who will go out in the community. We have strong relationships with the schools, the police departments, other agencies providing these services so that we can identify them and get them in. Historically, they had to go through a triage over the phone. The only kid we will not take in our shelter today is a kid who is actively homicidal, and we just don't see that. If a kid is looking for services, we want to get them in and make sure that they're safe.
So with coming back and forward to school, is it like a shuttle that you guys have, or like?
McKinney-Vento is a law that keeps kids in their school, and so that is funds that are provided to the school to provide that transportation. So our transportation is transportation to and from mental health services, to and from the center itself. But we do recognize it's all the way out in Des Plaines, but what we have also learned is all the way out in Des Plaines is really good for our kids.
One more question.
Sure.
What type of like follow-up do you guys do, like outreach once the young women have exited the program?
Yeah, we do 30, 60, 90 days, and then 6 months and a year, and I've asked my team to start collecting data as far out as 3 years. What we learned is that teenagers are pretty transient just by their nature, and cell phones are sort of like pancakes. You can get a new one tomorrow and your phone changes. So when we started a Facebook page with our case management team designed specifically to maintain contact with our kids, it's a safe mechanism because kids call us and say, hey, I'm stuck, I need this, and we'll continue to provide them with referrals. So they are working on building that network of connections through the Facebook, and they've had a greater success. As far as knowing what the trajectory is, what I often tell people is that at this age, it's a very tender age, and you're not going to see the fruits of your labor. We're really creating successful 30-year-olds. So we provide them all the tools that they need when they're with us, to make sure that they don't skip a beat. I tell people we're the arms of the absent parent. So whatever a mom and dad would give you, that's what we're doing, but intensive. Our life skills is no joke. And you know, I had a kid tell me, I told them, Chris, that you're not gonna let them come and lay on the couch and eat Cheetos and drink Monster drinks, that they have to get a job. And we do. We require them to work. We require them to save. And so many of our kids have left our programs with a greater savings account than, I'll speak for myself, even me. So the goal for us is to really make sure that that shelter program ensures not one more night in housing instability. Thank you. Hi.
Thank you. I know this is a request for the emergency shelter, but I'm curious, how many units of housing do you have in Evanston for your housing program?
So we don't own any housing for
But you
young
rent it.
people. Yeah, we do rent it. And
How many
so
units?
right now, I think I'm not sure how many apartments I have currently because the kids rent those apartments. I did just discharge 3 kids who left our program with apartments in Evanston. So as far as
I would like that answer. Okay.
Absolutely,
Sure.
I would ask.
And also, what is the age, the youngest age that you'll place a girl in one of the apartments?
Our kids are at the mercy of the housing market. And so whatever apartments they can rent, because of their age, they don't really qualify for permanent supportive housing options because they haven't been homeless long enough. So they're really competing for market rate housing with everybody else. So the harbor works with landlords to rent to our kids, and we pay a descending rent schedule, but we are really hindered somewhat by landlords who don't want to give us a W-9, for example. Who don't want to give us a W-9, don't report their income. Some people just want us to pay cash, and we're
Do not rent from a landlord who will not give you one of those.
Trust me, we do not. Mostly because we're accountable to so many people. But so a lot of times it takes one of my case managers about 80 phone calls. We've done the algorithm to even get a viewing. And so we are really at the mercy of market rate housing.
I just wanted to know how many units you have.
I will get the
that
answer.
You have placed people in.
Absolutely. I will get that answer for you tomorrow.
I had a question. In terms of your narrative, you mentioned parents sometimes help pay. I didn't see it in the budget part. Do parents help pay for their children?
Not normally. We are not a fee for service. They can make donations, but we do not charge them, and it's very rare that they will.
Oh, okay. And the second question is, your contributions are projected to be up 75% next year? I'd like to know your secret.
Are you looking at page?
I was just looking at the budget earlier. I don't have it in front of me.
That does not sound correct to me. Are you looking?
I'm sorry, I think I see private contributions last year being 30,000 and next year being 131.
Private that had to have been an error because our private contributions in terms of individuals is about 30-some thousand. And then the contributions from foundations and grants. And so I can also work with my team to get you a more pointed answer on that. Because where are you exactly? Publix?
I was just curious how you projected where it's going to come down.
I am just interested in, do you know what page you're on? Private contributions. Oh, I see.
Question 20.
I think
think we're looking at just the budget breakdown.
Yeah, I think
Right.
she was including, I think she was probably including special events in that, and the 30,000 doesn't consider that, so it was an error. We don't plan to grow 75%, but if we did, I probably wouldn't be standing here. But thank you for the question. I'll make sure I talk to them about that.
Could we get that clarification? If you could just email that to Jessica, that clarification, and then she can add it into the extra section, just so we have that in text, if that's okay.
I sure will. And the question about apartments too.
Cool.
Sure.
That would be great. Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions for the harbor? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Next up, we have the James B. Moran Center.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Keenan Devlin. I am the Executive Director of the Moran Center. Our phone number is 847-492-1410. Our website is Moran, MORAN-Center, CENTER.org. Our main email address is contact@moran-center.org. Our address is 1123 Emerson, Suite 203, Evanston, Illinois 60201. And we are applying tonight for integrated legal and social work services from both CDBG and NHB. Most of you are very familiar with the Moran Center and our work, but just to give folks at home a quick overview of who we are and what we do. We are Evanston's legal aid agency. We provide integrated legal representation, advocacy, trauma-informed social work services, and collaboration with community resources to dismantle the destructive school-to-prison pipeline in our community. And our vision is to enable youth to be successful in school, in jobs, and in the community. And we strive for Evanston to be an equitable and just place with opportunities for all children, youth, young adults, and their families. I'd like to focus on just a few sections of our proposal tonight. The Moran Center has been a member of this community for the past 38 years, providing excellent services, quality legal services, and quality mental health services to Evanston's children and their families. Over the past 8 years or so, the Moran Center has worked diligently to deepen our engagement in this community. And I'd like to, again, just focus on two areas, exciting developments within our agency that are really going to impact the community, but certainly impact the proposals that are before you tonight. The first is that in April, we launched a school-based civil legal clinic at Chute Middle School. For years, Evanston residents have called the Moran Center looking for civil legal services. And we would often send people to other legal aid partners, and they would be on hold for 3 hours, or they would leave a message and never get a call back. Or we as an agency would try our best to fill the justice gap ourselves, but it was hodgepodge at best. And we recognize that civil legal issues destabilize families, and if our mission and vision is to see every child successful in school and in life, we weren't doing enough as lawyers to ensure that vision is reality. And so we launched this exciting school-based civil legal clinic that initially was targeted to serve just the Chute neighborhood. We actually believe that we have the capacity now to serve all District 65 families. I did not offer this phone number at the top, but I will offer it now. Joan Clay is the Moran Center's civil legal clinic attorney, and her direct line is 847-278-4220. That's 847-278-4220. We will be hosting a clinic at JEH, at Chute Middle School, and at King Arts, and we're doing a lot of work right now in the community to educate families about this new ready access to civil legal services. We also have a phenomenal group of pro bono attorneys that have agreed to take cases because certainly we'll need volunteers in order to meet the needs of our community. The second focus I'd like to, the second piece I'd like to bring to your attention is the Education Advocacy Project. So the Moran Center about 9 years ago recognized that so many of our kids were entering the juvenile justice system because of failures in school. And so we started a school advocacy project to represent children with disabilities in securing appropriate services and supports within our schools, but then also representing children who were being excluded from school, and then also educating parents as to how they could be their own children's best advocate within the school. So that work has been ongoing, but we, over the past couple of years, have not been able to meet the needs of the community, and we have been operating well over capacity. And so we made a decision this year, which will be a stretch for us, but to hire a bilingual education advocate to accompany families to particularly school law meetings, particularly special education meetings, so as to assert children's rights to appropriate supports and services. We also are partnering this year with CASE, which is a local agency that supports parents who are seeking support for their children, and we are working with them to train caregiver advocates in providing support to other parents and caregivers, hopefully, again, expanding the reach of the Moran Center within the community. Last thing I'll just close with is that the Moran Center also just adopted in July a strategic plan for the next 3 years, so for 2018-2021. And in that, we have committed ourselves to this expansion of legal services. Our board also just voted to expand our criminal legal representation for adults up to the age of 26 in order to comport with brain science that has shown that, particularly for males, maturation does not occur until they reach their 26th birthday. So we are trying to keep up with developing brain science. Our social workers have to keep up with our expanding legal services, so that has to be part of our strategic plan, is making sure that our social workers are not inundated by the increased legal services, because we really do try to pair all of our legal clients with a social worker. And then lastly, we are trying to do our best in supporting lots of efforts in our community to build a more restorative and trauma-informed community in our schools, in businesses, in City Hall. So we want to be a true partner with many institutions, many players, our sister and brother nonprofit agencies, to build a more trauma-informed and restorative community. And with that, any questions? I don't take offense if there are no questions. Truly. Yes.
Looking at your budget, as far as individual contributions, the projection, I guess I wonder if you think the projection for 2019 is realistic, with an increase of almost 200,000 for individual contributions.
It's a great question. And I think if you ask any executive director, we look at expenses and we try our best to meet those through income. I am working harder than ever to go out and meet with individual donors. I actually had 2 foundation meetings this morning, but the need is there, and it's on me to raise the money to meet the needs of this community. So I will steal and cheat to get there if I have to. That is for public comment. But I really do think that the Moran Center is at a position of immense growth, and we have to keep up with the growth. I understand it is lofty, but we'll get there.
I have another comment. I was very impressed with the steps the agency is taking to relieve staff stress, because I think that's very important.
Thank you.
And, so keep going.
Thank you. It's really necessary. It's hard work, and our frontline providers, I'm really proud of the Moran Center in that we actually have really low turnover at the Moran Center. So our staff is really, really dedicated to this community. But I recognize one of my primary jobs is to keep them there as long as I possibly can. And that means self-care. And so that's been a big priority of our agency over the past 2 years. So thank you for pointing that out. Yes, sir.
How many attorneys do you work with? Do they all work on pro bono, or how does that work?
So we have 4.5 FTE attorneys on staff, but we have recruited thus far 25 attorneys to support our school-based civil legal clinic. And then we also have a dedicated cadre of pro bono attorneys that support our expungement help desk at the Skokie Courthouse every Tuesday and Thursday from 10 to noon. And those attorneys have been there for years, dedicated every Tuesday and Thursday. And we helped last year nearly 800 people at the expungement help desk. And we couldn't have done it without our pro bono practitioners.
I have like a curveball question.
Okay,
for
hopefully
you.
I can.
It's kind of like.
Hopefully I can catch it.
It's kind of like Sandy's one. What would you say to our board now if our question were, why should we give funding when you have probably undoubtedly the highest source of like private contributions and fundraising out of all our agencies? So we have a lot of smaller agencies that just don't have the same leverage, they don't have the same. So that's my first question.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
We have no fee for service. And we have to hustle a lot more than many of our brother and sister agencies in that we have to start at zero every year. And we went through a couple of years ago a training at Kellogg. It was called FCBI, Fundraising Capacity Building Initiative. And at that point, we had, I actually was just looking at the numbers the other day for a report we had to give. And our revenue streams were totally lopsided in comparison to where they are today. We were overly reliant on government funding. And we had to address that, given that, as you all know, up close and personal, that it's not reliable. Not because you don't want it to be reliable, it's just our revenues have gone down. So with that being said, we had to, with no fee for service, with having to start at zero every year, and with really no other sources of revenue to go after except for individuals, we have focused laser beam on raising donations from individuals. And so that's why, and that's a reflection of the hard work that we've done over the past few years to focus on individual donors.
When you say no fee for service, what does the line item program fees under revenues, 48,000 projected for 2019, what does that refer to?
Part of that is $18,000. We litigated a case against Chicago Public Schools, and we won attorney's fees for that. So that was part of that. The other $30,000 is Certificate of Rehabilitation Initiative.
Oh, okay.
So that's our CDBG money that we receive as subcontractors.
Awesome. Final question for me is, can you explain the jump in the expenses for, it's like $100,000 jump in professional fees and contract services?
Yes, I'm going to give the answer, and my director of operations is behind me, so if I'm wrong, she'll kick me. But I believe that is because we have 2 legal fellows this year. One is from University of Chicago School of Law, and the other is from Northwestern School of Law. They are postgraduate fellows, each being paid $50,000 by their universities, so that's just pass-through money.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am correct. I get it.
Yeah, no, that's in the narrative. That
Yes,
how
it
you
is.
worded it makes, I understand.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Just a comment, I used to be a major critic of the Moran Center because 99% of all of their funds came from community development.
It was pretty close to that, Madam Chair.
And I used to argue the opposite of the comment that was recently made. You've got to go out and get other money. And I would fight vigorously that the city of Evanston make contributions to you to show the rest of your funders that the city is still a major supporter of yours. And furthermore, nobody else does what you do, and we have to maintain your services here. It's just an amazing thing. And I think it would be very interesting for both mental health and the current CDBG committee to see a budget of yours from, for example, 1990. I think it would be like 130,000 for the year.
I mean, Alderman Rainey, I just was looking, as I said, at this, at these numbers just this morning for another report that I needed to provide. And our budget, I could tell you, in 2011, 2012 was $215,000. And we had one full-time social worker and 1.5 full-time attorneys at that point. So we were much smaller, and we couldn't do as much. And with more, we can do more.
I know, it's been an amazing growth, and congratulations. You're doing a
Thank you.
wonderful job.
Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Meals at Home.
Hello, I'm Debbie Genthy, the Executive Director from Meals at Home, your local Meals on Wheels provider. Phone number is 847-332-2678. Our website is mealsathome.org, and email is mealsathome@mealsathome.org. Easy enough. Our address is 1123 Emerson, Suite 213, Evanston, Illinois, 60201. Of the nearly 15,000 seniors in Evanston, we project 2,500 will need our meal delivery services. Meals at Home is focused on growing our capacity to serve far more community members in the next year. Our volunteers deliver more than a meal, Monday through Saturdays. They provide an important safety check and a bit of socialization to a population riddled in loneliness. About 20% of our seniors, of our clients, are not seniors. Their families call us because they're unable to shop or cook for themselves because of a recent surgery, dementia, complicated special diets, and many other limitations. About 20% of our clients have report having a mental illness. Many others suffer undiagnosed issues such as loneliness. Loneliness tends to lead to loss of appetite, disturbances in the immune system. It influences disease outcomes of diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, emphysema. It's implicated in depression, and suicides among elderly are 29 per 100,000 compared with the national averages of 12.6. The regular fee for a 2-meal delivery is $10, but Meals at Home applies a sliding scale for its low-income clients, and last year 64% of our clients received a reduced rate. While I've talked about the growth at Meals at Home for the last several years, this year we are on a path that will be, we think, the most impactful in our past 50 years. As mentioned in the application, Meals at Home recently hired a consultant to conduct a kitchen feasibility study. We want to see if it makes sense for us to be able to build this and really start taking control of the numbers of meals we can provide. We're also wrapping up the strategic planning process. Should be done the beginning of October. Meals at Home is intent on being as prepared as possible as we tackle this huge growth ahead of us. The Meals at Home Board of Directors will announce the details of this plan in fall, but I can tell you by increasing the organization's food production capacity, we'll be able to serve far more people, resulting in far more safety checks and a whole lot more socialization. This growth comes at a cost, of course. We always welcome donations, mealsathome.org. But we don't want this growth to come at the expense of the one-on-one contact that our clients have had with our volunteers for the last 50 years. That will not change. We'll still have the smiling volunteer at the doorstep of our clients. We will need more volunteers, however, and everything else that goes with it. So we think this is a very exciting time for the entire community. As we work to create this important resource in the fight against senior hunger, we're planning to work with a lot of the organizations in Evanston who also have their fingers in this hunger issue that we have. We're looking for ways to really, truly create a sense of community. When clients have additional additional needs, we refer them to the city, Audrey Thompson, generally. North Shore Senior Center, SASE, a bunch of our friends sitting in the audience, government agencies, community members. We just try to connect everyone to get as much help as possible. Let's see, I think that's everything. We're grateful for the past support, absolutely, from this group, and I was nodding my head to Patrick's comments because absolutely the growth is, you can do more when you have more. So we're very grateful for that and hope that we have continued support as we work to really raise the bar. I'm happy to respond to questions.
Absolutely fabulous news about your thinking about growing. I mean, it's scary for me because I always think
it's scary for
of your organization just like running around delivering meals that you're getting from others, and it's just really an amazing.
It opens up the possibilities too, where you can, one of the things that we really like to be able to do, well, a couple years ago, for example, we added a delivery from Hecky's on Saturdays for people who are general diet clients. They can choose that option. We can do that sort of thing a whole lot more. We can bring in, you know, the local grandmas to make tamales, or
you'll be like a caterer
to some extent, yeah. And we'd like our clients to be able to have options. There's a program that we have studied very thoroughly where they have given 2 options each day, and in the end, recommended daily allowance still comes out. You have to calculate if you're going to put something like a Hecky's order in, maybe, no offense.
That must blow the entire
But you can make it all come out in the end. But the idea is to have some say in what you're getting and to have it be food that you really appreciate. So a lot of possibility.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your organization is fabulous.
Thank you.
And the volunteers just, I mean, I know all of the professionals involved are wonderful too, but the volunteers are unbelievable.
They are. As an executive director, that's one of the things where you think we're never going to find more nice people like this, and they just keep coming. They're good people.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Next up, we have Connections to the Homeless.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Betty Bogg. I'm the Executive Director at Connections for the Homeless. My contact info is bbogg@connect2home.org. My number is 847-475-7070. My extension is at 108. And you can also make general inquiries to us at info@connect2home.org. Let me extend my deep thanks to members of the Mental Health Board and Housing and Community Development Act Committee for considering our combined request for Connections homeless outreach and drop-in programs. With your investment and partnership, we will serve 550 people who are homeless, providing access to basic services like food, clean clothes, showers, laundry, medical and mental health care, while simultaneously building a partnership with that person so that we may end his or her homelessness for good. We are seeking this combined funding because this important work meets the articulated goals and eligibility requirements for both entities. Additionally, by making a single request, if awarded, the investment will maximize the impact of the city's limited resources by increasing operational efficiency for the Mental Health Board, the Housing and Development Act Committee, city staff, and Connections for the Homeless. Right now is a particularly important time to invest in Connections because just 5 months ago, our drop-in and outreach services expanded from operating 2 days a week to 5. And with that expansion, we are serving significantly more people. While once we were seeing 50 or so individuals per week, we are now seeing on average 40 every day. The team that works with these vulnerable neighbors has also grown. we have added a full-time mental health specialist, a program manager, an additional community case manager, and a housing coordinator. Additionally, we've added dedicated full-time volunteer coordinator to make sure that the full force of Evanston's well-known spirit of generosity, service, and community investment is fully harnessed. But the most effective way to show the impact of your support through funding our program expansion is to share a story of two participants who we recently got housed. I begin with the story of Gabriel. Gabriel has multiple acute mental health disorders that make him delusional, sometimes aggressive, and non-social. But he also has access to a storage locker at our drop-in program, and that has been a tether for him, providing stability and support. When our drop-in reopened 5 days a week, Gabriel started to visit every single day. This allowed our community case manager to start building a stronger relationship with him, which in turn allowed for completion of the paperwork needed so that Gabriel could go through the process of coordinated entry and be formally assessed for a supportive housing program. We determined that he was extremely vulnerable, and which put him at the top of the wait list for housing. Fortunately, when our partners at Impact Behavioral Health Partners had a new supportive housing unit come online, we were able to help transition Gabriel into that program and have him housed. Now let me tell you about Cynthia. After fleeing a domestic violence situation, Cynthia had been living on the streets of Evanston off and on for at least 6 months when she first came to our drop-in center in September of 2017. Cynthia got a job at a nursing home, making a little over $12 an hour, but still had nowhere to sleep at night or keep her belongings. Over the next 8 months, Connections provided her with basic needs, including food and clothing, a place to take a shower, and do laundry and store her things, but most importantly with case management services. This meant that when Cynthia needed to buy a bus card, Connections did so, and when she needed a uniform for work, Connections purchased it. In fact, in November of 2017, while still homeless, Cynthia was awarded, oh God, she makes me cry, sorry, was awarded Employee of the Month, a true testament to the resilience and courage of the people we work with every day. In May of 2018, a month after our drop-in services center reopened 5 days a week, Cynthia moved into a market rate apartment. Through our homelessness prevention and rapid rehousing program, Connections paid for Cynthia's move-in fee and first month's rent. When people ask me about the causes of homelessness, it's hard for me to answer succinctly because each person has their own complicated story. The one thing I do see on an almost universal basis is a lack of a support system. Cynthia is still working with us because when you're living near, at, or below the poverty line, or even as Cynthia is at nearly twice the poverty limit, your life is complex and stressful, and you need the support of someone. You need a community where you can problem solve, ask for help, and work with the myriad of storms that life presents. The kind of work Connections does, where everyone has access to the most basic necessities they need to live and thrive in our community, creates a more equitable community. We help people move beyond just meeting their survival needs to co-creating a plan for their future. Thank you for your partnership and consideration of this request. Questions?
I had a question. Last year, it was kind of exciting that you were going to have a nurse practitioner, if I remember correctly. Is that still, you didn't mention that.
Yes, so we were able to make as part of our expansion in December, we actually gave ourselves a Christmas present on Christmas Day. We made our nurse practitioner expand her hours, where we asked her to make her. She was happy to expand her hours from half-time to full-time, so we actually expanded our healthcare capacity as well.
And do you work with thresholds in their clinic?
All the time. We refer back and forth to all kinds of both mental and physical health service providers all the time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that nurse practitioner, is she current? She started?
So the nurse practitioner that we had in place, actually her husband had this weird job that you can only get tenure for in North Carolina. So she actually, we were heartbroken that she transitioned away from us in the beginning of August. We have had a longtime nurse who's been a volunteer with us, who's been providing us bridge services, and we have a new nurse practitioner starting on the 12th.
I think your expansion this year has meant so much to the community, and it's really very exciting to visit Connections and to see the number of people who are waiting. You know, I think you open what, at
1:30 on Monday through Thursday.
And at 12 o'clock, they're lining up on the steps, and to see what you're able to provide in terms of your food pantry and the clothing. And much of that, I know, is the work of volunteers.
It absolutely is. We have over 1,300 volunteers a year. For an agency our size, that's a tremendous number of people really engaged in our work. And we're happy, even this year, we didn't mention it in this application, but we actually offer many more services now out of our administrative offices on Dewey. So we don't want to make it more difficult for people to get services from us. If you're not in downtown, it's harder to get to Hilda's than it is to get to us, and we want to be able to serve people wherever they come to us. Our goal with all of these programs, particularly outreach and drop-in, is to build relationships with people, because people don't come in off the street after living in a park district for 18 years and just tell you everything you need to know. They have to do that in a safe place where they build a trusting relationship with us, so it's important for us to be present as much as possible for the moment when they're ready to share that information with us and work with us.
Excellent. Family Focus.
Good evening, and thank you for having us here this evening. I am Colette Allen, Center Director for Family Focus Evanston. Our address is 2010 Dewey Avenue here in Evanston, Illinois. Our phone number is 847-475-7570. Our website, www.family-focus.org/Evanston, and I can be reached at Colette, COLETTE.Allen @family-focus.org. With me this evening, I have two of our auxiliary board members, Rose Johnson, who is our chair, and Walter Calhoun, who was chair for many, many years, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with Walter. I know that people in the audience and here are familiar with Family Focus. We've been around for 43 years, and we started right here in Evanston, Illinois. We were the first center for Family Focus. We take a holistic approach to supporting families, and we do it by starting with early childhood development, where we have a home visiting program. We also do families in crisis with our Family Advocacy Center, where we partner with DCFS and provide parent education, advocacy to try to bring families back together. And we also provide a family support group for grandparents raising grandchildren. But I am here this evening to ask you for your continued support of our after-school and summer camp programs. In this program, we serve approximately 60 to 70 students every year. These are low and moderate income families, primarily from the 5th Ward, whose kids are bused to schools north of the canal. We help them with homework every evening. We devote an hour to homework every evening. And in addition, we do enrichment activities to enhance their experience at Family Focus. Our goal for the students last year was that 75% would remain at reading level or above grade level. 90% of our students met that goal. The only place where we were short our goal was to have 100% of the students participate in STEM activities. Well, when you're competing against FAM and Junior Wild Kids and cheerleading, it's hard to make sure that the students are there for every STEM session. But we came close with 90%. Thanks to your support, we have been able to leverage your support with amazing partnerships around the area. Our major partnership is with Evans STEM, and through that we provide a lot of STEM activities for the community and for our children. One of the most popular ones are Science Saturdays, where graduate students from Northwestern's McCormick School of Engineering provide science activities and engineering activities once a month on Saturdays for all middle school students, but primarily we target students of color. We continue our partnership with the Museum of Science and Industry, where they provide staff development for our staff, and then materials free of charge. And then once a week we have a science club for 3rd through 5th graders. We continue our partnership with Northwestern Science and Society, where they provide a science club for our middle schoolers. And they provide mentors so students can work in small groups to do science activities. Our partnership this year with Evanston Food Exchange expanded thanks to the support of the Evanston Rotary. And what we do with that is we have a gardening program for our kids. Well, this past summer we added the Mayor's Youth Summer Employees. And so high school students worked with our students to do gardening, but we also provided life skills, entrepreneurship, and community service. So they were at the farmers market selling vegetables. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, they were distributing the vegetables that they raised to those people who came to our food pantry and clothes closet. So it was a total program that expanded. It culminated in a community dinner, and it was called Farm to Fork. We had about 100 people attend, and we highlighted our students and the summer employees. It was a great evening, great community evening. Our effectiveness of our literacy program, which is run by a volunteer that has been with us for 12 years, her name is Beth Jacobs, was shown when our students wrote letters to Representative Jan Schakowsky. She was very gracious and she attended Family Focus. Our students read their letters to the representative. She was wowed. They were very powerful, emotional. They talked about issues like gun violence, poverty, racism, and she took those letters to Congress and shared it with her Congress members. Also, one of our 4th grade students won a statewide poetry contest sponsored by the Illinois Council Against Handgun Violence. So you can see that Ms. Beth is really doing her job with our students. We continue to fine-tune our program, trying to provide more options and enhance what we do. One of the things that we noticed 3 or 4 years ago is that our kids were really having problems with math. And this year, this summer, I was fortunate enough to find a young man who's a product of Evanston Schools, attended Claflin University in South Carolina, where he received a scholarship, and he's a math major. So we hired him as the middle school instructor. And he's with us not only through the summer, but he's with us for the school year. And you can already see the kids gravitating to him and getting help from him. We continue our science clubs with Northwestern and MSI. We continue our partnership with Beacon Academy, where the students, in order to satisfy their community service hours, are teaching art to our kids. And now we have 3 very new, exciting partnerships that I'd like to share with you this evening. Through a NSF grant to Northwestern School of Education and Social Policy, we are now going to have McGaw-Wise Meta Media at Family Focus, which means that children in our community will have the experience of a Maker's Lab right there in the building at Family Focus. So in addition to our kids being exposed to some of the things that we provide, they will have the opportunity to go downstairs and participate in Meta Media. And we won't have to transport them back and forth. Also, I got a little pushback from some staff members, but we also have a partnership with the North Shore Mental Health Association of America. They are going to be implementing a 6-week course on mental health literacy for our middle school students. The pushback was that the kids wouldn't opt to do it, but I think they will, because it's going to be interactive. It's going to talk about mental health awareness. It's going to talk about the stigma associated with mental illness. They're going to talk about stress. They're going to talk about depression. And they are also going to give them tools to deal with these issues as middle school. So I'm very excited about the program. And I think the kids will be too. And also, we're going to take a page from Arthur Ashe, and we're going to use tennis to teach life. So in a partnership with Evanston Community Tennis Association, 4 hours a week, volunteers from that organization will not only be teaching tennis to the kids, but they will devote half of that time to developing relationships with our students, mentoring them, and helping them with their homework. So I'd like to end this by bragging a little bit about our kids. So this year, this past year, Science and Society decided to have our students compete against the students at Metamedia. The first thing was a science fair. Our students, out of 5 places, took first, second, and fourth. Very proud of them. And then the team that won 4th place at the beginning of the year was a group of young men, and they were very upset that the girls had beat them. The last project was in neuroscience, and our young men took first place with a project on how best to shoot a free throw. So I'm very proud of them, and I think it's the partnership that really made the difference in that exposure for our kids. So I'll take questions.
I think I can speak for all of us, particularly the mental health board, that is just fantastic partnership with Mental Health America for that workshop. I think it's also great that you had a bit of pushback from your staff, because I guarantee after they do the workshop, they'll see the merit in it.
And they're also going to do 3 workshops with families.
Fantastic.
So in addition to working with the students, they're going to be working with the families as well.
It's fantastic. It's really, really great. Is there an option for staff to do something similar?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I have talked to Josefina about doing something with staff, because as Patrick mentioned, this is tough work, and dealing with stress and dealing with some of these issues can really wear you out.
I have a question.
Sure.
It's mentioned that you partner with Family Institute.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have
Well, we've been doing that for years, and in fact, before my time, they actually had an office in the building. But what happens now is we make referrals to the Family Institute, and to make it easier for their parents, we provide space for them to do the counseling sessions at Family Focus.
I was just thinking of your partnership. Perhaps what you might think of is a catchy name for the program. That might really make the difference.
Yeah, that's what some of our partners were saying. Mental health literacy, I don't know if kids were
Right, think about it,
attracted to that.
yes.
So, we'll
A
try to come
catchy
up with
name.
something catchy. It starts in October. You have more time. What was that?
I just made a joke, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you came up with a catchy name.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Oh, Becky, did you? No. Oh, you good? You're stretching. Okay. Thank you. Interfaith action.
Hello, I'm Susan Murphy. I'm the Executive Director of Interfaith Action of Evanston. Our email is ia@interfaithactionofevanston.org. The website is interfaithactionofevanston.org. Our office is at 1004 Greenwood at St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Phone number is 847-869-0370. And we're a group made up of 42 of the faith communities in Evanston. And we do the Hospitality Center for the Homeless every morning at St. Mark's Church. And there we have employment counseling and computers for people to use, breakfast, and a place for people to sleep if they need to. And we do warming centers from November through March at different faith communities throughout downtown. We do the soup kitchens in Evanston. There's at least one every day. Some days there's two. We do the Produce Mobile in partnership with the Greater Chicago Food Depository in the city of Evanston, and that is at Robert Crown on the second Tuesday of every month. And it's one of mine that I find really personal because I live by Robert Crown. And one day I had a bonfire in my backyard, and there's a group of neighbors there. And one woman who lives near me, I knew her husband had lost his job. They own a home in the neighborhood, and she said, I was walking around today and I saw all these people over at Robert Crown. And I went over there and I got enough vegetables and potatoes to last my family for a month. And so it just opened my eyes that that's for everybody. So we work with people who are homeless and have nothing, but also people who just need food or just are having a hard time like any one of us might have. The reason that I'm here though is we're trying to expand, we will expand our emergency overnight shelter. We've been open for 12 years. The first 10 years we were open when it was 0 degrees. 2 years ago, thanks to CDBG funds and the Community Foundation and donors, we were able to raise the temperature that we opened to 15 degrees. So we were open more often. Last year we had 51 different people who were served who came and spent the night, 366 visits from those people. 6 faith communities provide the space for us. They each take 2 weeks. There's almost 200 volunteers who help. We have volunteers set up in the evening. They come at 8 o'clock and set up the cots and the blankets, and then they also pass out the blankets to our guests so they get to interact with them. And I have to say that the mayor came one time last year, and he was great. He did not say, "Hi, I'm the mayor." He did not bring a photographer. He just came and said, "I'm Steve, and you want a blanket?" So it was really nice. So we have lots of volunteers who do that. They like to do that. We have a staff person who spends the night with a volunteer. So we also have, we have 2 people in the evening. And then in the morning at 6 o'clock, people come in. Volunteers wake up our guests and get them coffee. Then they leave and come over to the Hospitality Center for breakfast. And then anybody who's new, anybody is welcome. And if they are new, when they come new to Evanston or new to being homeless, in the morning we refer them to Heal This Place so that they can get the help that's offered there from the caseworkers. At the end of the season last year, I asked some of our guests where they would be sleeping if they were not sleeping at the church on a cot. And these are just some of their answers. One man said, "I sleep on the L if I'm lucky enough to have a pass." Another says, "I sleep in the rose garden, but I'm afraid of frostbite." "I sleep in my storage unit, but it isn't heated and it gets really cold." "I sleep in my car, but I have to wake up often to turn it on so I don't freeze, and then turn it off so I don't get gassed." "I sleep in a parking lot, but when I went back last night, all my belongings had been thrown away." "I sleep in the park, but I have to leave when the skunks start having their babies." If you think back to last spring, some of the days that we had that were icy cold rain, one man said that one of those nights was the worst night he'd had in a long time. He said there's nothing worse than horizontal sleet. So sleeping outside is not so easy. And so the temperature was 15 degrees when we opened it, but 16 degrees is pretty darn cold to sleep outside as well. this winter, we will raise the temperature to 20 degrees. And we also are going to try to open when there's significant moisture expected, so that maybe it'll be 30 degrees, but the freezing horizontal sleet, we need to have people sleeping indoors. The increase in the cost for that is the overnight staff, because there is one staff person and they would be there more often. Last year they were there 28 nights. We're kind of budgeting for 45 nights. We'll be open, the 3 months that are winter are 90 nights, so we're guessing half of them could easily be 20 degrees. And then of course we do the laundry every day. We have a laundry service that washes the blankets and the sheets. So that's a raise in cost. Our goal though, that'll be this winter of December, January, February. Our goal for next December, 2019 and 2020, is that we will be open every night in December, January, and February. And we're working toward that right now. That would be regardless of the temperature. We will just be open. The churches and synagogue have all agreed that, you know, they signed up for 2 weeks, whether we're open one night or 14, they're ready. That raises the cost, because then we would hire 2 people to be the overnight supervisors, because we just would run out of overnight volunteers, people who can spend the night. And the laundry, the rest of the costs won't change. So that is what the CDBG funds will make possible. And so this winter, you and I will be comfortable when we go to bed at night. But what if you didn't have a home? Where would you sleep? So think about that, and thank you so much for helping make it possible for our homeless people in Evanston to have a place to sleep. Questions?
I don't have a question, but I know Sue, and I just want to tell you, you've come a long way. Having the emergency shelter, you know, I was there in the beginning, so to have it open more days is significant, and to see the amount of volunteers and the community connected like that is incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice job.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you very much.
Open studio projects.
Good evening. My name is Chantal Healy. I'm the Executive Director of Open Studio Project. Our phone number is 847-475-0390. Our website is openstudioproject.org. Our address, 903 Sherman Avenue, Evanston, Illinois, 60202. And our contact information is info@openstudioproject.org. Thank you, Mental Health Board and CDBG, for your time and for your consideration of our request for funds. We are asking for $10,000 from CDBG and $10,000 from the Mental Health Board. Open Studio Project is an arts and social service organization. We have been in Evanston since 2001, and we offer youth and adults the opportunity to experience art for personal growth. We embrace a strong social orientation. We try and eliminate social and economic barriers to art and make art accessible to all people. Our studio, we have workshops, we have a gallery, we have exhibits, and we serve a diverse population. Our fourth main component is our outreach program, which we call Art in Action. The Open Studio Project has a creative methodology that was developed by 3 women from the School of the Art Institute, the Art Therapy Department. It involves journaling and making visual art, and it helps the individuals express their emotions in a healthier manner. They develop mental clarity, and they are able to make better decisions. Our Art in Action program, we've been doing this for about 15 years now, and we work with partner organizations. We partner We try and enhance the social services of those partner organizations while providing emotional support and well-being for the individuals that are in the organizations. One example is Kurt's Cafe this year. We worked with women at Kurt's Cafe. They had employment training from Kurt's Cafe, but we offered our therapeutic art program. The combination of the two helped them to feel stronger and develop more fully into positive role models. In the past year, we have put over 5,825 participation hours. 25% of that is towards our outreach program. In our outreach program, we have provided 1,403 hours. 72% of those individuals are low income, and the other 28% are special needs and moderate income. 80% of our participants are either African American and Latino. This is in our outreach program. One of our new programs is our social and emotional learning art curriculum that we've developed at the request of D65. And they approached us because our art doesn't have a specific design criteria, and the children with special needs are able to do our art and feel more comfortable working with the art than typical art classes. So we developed an art curriculum over the last few years, and it's an evidence-based curriculum where we have a pre-assessment and a post-assessment. And we piloted that program at Lincoln Elementary this past year. And the results, we determined an increase in positive behavioral change significantly in relationship skills, responsible decision-making, self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness, between 35 and 42% increase. We will do another pilot this fall at King Arts. We think we need to do a few more to get the evidence. We need significantly more evidence to prove our position, but we feel very strongly, and it's looking like we are making a positive impact with this program. Some of the testimonials about our program are pretty powerful. One young woman, Kalia, she's a 19-year-old trainee at Kurt's Cafe, and her story expresses the optimism and confidence that participants feel after completing the program and making art as well. Kalia proudly described her painting at a gallery show, which we have at the end of our therapeutic art program, as a tribute to her mother, who raised 4 children, and every other single mother in the foreground is the silhouette of a pregnant woman. This image is surrounded by prints of tiny hands and feet. She explains, "My mother was there for me. The pregnant belly is dedicated to my mother and the single mothers who support their children on their own." The picture is one of several that Kalia created during the program. Here's how she describes another of her works. "I love my city, but we have our ups and downs. What inspired me to paint these pieces was me loving the sky at night. It's busy. I come from a single-parent home. I see my city differently than most. The art expresses the tears, the sorrow, the happiness, hopes, dreams, and thoughts with colors and paint." Kalia had never painted before, but she said that this experience taught her to never be afraid to do anything. She's recently completed her GED and graduated high school in May. She'll be attending Columbia College in the fall, and she hopes to do something like fashion business and continue to be an activist in her community. There are some other excerpts from the journals, which is part of our process. We have writing and visual art making, and in the journals, some of the young women said, Creating brings me peace. I love working with my friends." Another young woman said, To make art is to express a way of feeling, a way of life, and myself as a person. It is a way to let others know how I feel, a way to let them know what I find so hard to put into words. And lastly, another testimonial is art made me feel at peace with myself. There was times I'd be angry and art tended to calm me down. I'm grateful I found my art. So we are requesting more money this year to expand into new services. Primarily, we have a kindergarten readiness program that we just applied for a grant for, where we will be implementing our social and emotional learning art curriculum for pre-kindergarten students. But additionally, we have a number of schools that have requested our services at G65. We are working with King Arts, but we have the Washington Elementary School who wants us to apply our curriculum to the entire grade. And we have Lincoln Elementary who wants us back again. So we hope that we can provide those services to them this year. We have a new partnership with the Moran Center that we will be piloting this fall. That is the SELA, the Special Education Legal Advocacy group. The Moran Center asked us to help them with the adults, the parents of the special ed students, because they can't represent the children. It's a conflict of interest. So the parents have asked for emotional and support. It's been very difficult for them to deal with special education related issues. And so what we have done is we're doing a 5-week pilot where we're offering a therapeutic art program at our studio for 10 members, and offering at the same time children's art classes for their children. And it's a number of families have already signed up, so we are confident that it's going to go well, and we hope that we can expand it into 2019. I think there are a few questions that were asked of me in my application that I just wanted to make sure were answered. One question was that we had indicated that the Moran Center was a contributor to Art in Action. It is a contributor, but it's not a financial contributor. They are contributing their time and resources to helping notify the SELA caregivers and coordinating with us in the implementation of our program. There is one collaborative agency that does contribute to our revenue stream, and that's YOU. However, the funds that we receive from YOU is really not sufficient to cover prep time, setup, and cleanup. So we are always in need of additional funds to provide those services. And sometimes YOU does offer transportation services, especially to our studios, but when we go to the schools, we have to take care of our own transportation services. So I hope I answer all of your questions. And do you have any more questions for me?
I think we're all good. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Okay, so next up we have YOU. YOU is applying, they have 2 programs. The Trauma-Informed Youth and Family Services is for the Mental Health Board, and the second is the STEAM for teens from CDBG. So are you presenting on on both or just the first?
On both.
Okay.
Is that what I should be doing?
Yeah, absolutely. If you would just like to, we'll do the trauma-informed one first, and then at the end, we'll
So
stop.
I kind of had it combined? Oh, that's
Oh.
fine. I can do it, yep. I can
Whatever
do it
is
that way.
easiest for
That's
you.
cool.
If you
I'll
want to
just-
combine them, let's do it.
It should be,
Let's
try to do it in
That's how
5
you're
minutes.
prepared.
Sure.
That's great.
Thanks.
I was just checking in case you had like 2 speakers. You know, like
I'm
one to-
actually the speaker. I have 2 people. I can just start and let
Go
you know
for it.
who's here to support that really are leads on both of those.
Great.
Great.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Good evening. My name is Maggie Blundenovi, and I'm with the CEO of Youth and Opportunity United. I'm joined here today by our board president, Cindy Wilson. by our Director of Clinical and Outreach Services, which will deal more with the health piece here, Melody Rose, and with our Maker Manager, Chris Essex. YOU respectfully requests Evanston Mental Health Board funds for trauma-informed counseling, and we are separately seeking CDBG funds for our teen is for STEAM and related neighborhood initiatives in our youth center and headquarters at 1911 Church Street. You can find YOU's website at youthopportunity.org, and you can reach us at 847-866-1200, and my email is mblendinovi@youthopportunity.org. YOU has served the Evanston community for nearly 50 years, providing leadership and meeting the emerging needs of youth and their families. In 2018 to 19, we will serve 750 Evanston youth in after-school and summer learning programs offered at no cost to families. These youth attend the 8 highest need Title I schools in Evanston, including Chute, Dawes, ETHS, King Arts, Nichols, Oakton, Walker, and Washington. Because the youth we serve must often deal with adult issues such as poverty, racism, family trauma, and violence, their ability to succeed is threatened. By providing holistic social and emotional supports, we ensure they have the opportunity to realize their full potential. We serve youth in grades 3 through 12 who are evenly split between male and female, and 80% are low income, and 93% are youth of color. YOU's service model is unique. Our programs are trauma-informed, relationship-based, and offer innovative and accessible social and emotional supports for underserved, low-income youth of color. We partner with schools, families, and the community, and our communities to provide academic, social, and emotional support to close the opportunity gap and prepare all youth for post-secondary and life success. This holistic approach considers the social, emotional, and academic needs of youth, and our trauma-informed program embeds youth and family counselors who are trained clinicians and licensed clinical social workers into our after-school programs where they can offer support to youth in a familiar setting. Some of the mental health supports we offer include violence prevention, which is an evidence-based curriculum addressing topics such as relational violence, positive body image, healthy relationships, gender stereotypes, consent and boundary communication, and puberty. We also offer psychoeducational groups, which are our therapeutic groups, which are offered alongside experiential learning and enrichment activities to destigmatize counseling and provide a low-risk entryway for youth. Our clinicians also provide effective alternatives for many refugee, immigrant, and low-income youth for whom traditional psychotherapy conflicts with cultural norms. We also offer individual and family counseling. Our clinicians provide individualized and family counseling to youth in order to support improved family functioning, communication, and relationship building. Finally, we also engage our families. We facilitate trauma-informed support and skill-building groups for caregivers and help build networks for our families. These services are critical to meet the mental health needs of underserved youth and families. We are also seeking CDBG funds to address another critical need facing youth, exposure and access to STEAM 21st century skills. We were fortunate to include a makerspace in our facility plans and have spent the past year learning and designing enriching activities that advance STEAM education among youth in our communities. We formulated a neighborhood advisory group which helped inform and plan community activities, and we're committed to quarterly weekend STEM-related workshops targeted to our neighbors in the 5th Ward. We seek to serve 450 youth and 5th Ward residents with one-time and ongoing workshops that will be designed to increase youth interest in STEAM subjects and fields, build youth's 21st century skills, increase their academic interest, engagement, and performance, empower youth to set aspirations for their learning and their future, and finally providing STEAM-related enrichment and education to families as well. The lack of high-quality, accessible STEAM programming for Evanston youth has led to a stark achievement gap among youth of color. Benchmarks at ETHS demonstrate that youth of color are underperforming in science math testing. Low-income youth and youth of color are some of the least represented populations in the STEAM field, due largely to a lack of access to quality STEAM education programming. YOU seeks to help narrow this gap through our programming in our makerspace. We work in partnership with the YMC's Metamedia makerspace that is dedicated to middle school students. We target high school youth, and due to our proximity to ETHS and to maintaining a continuum of STEAM learning opportunities for youth moving from middle school to high school. We also partner with community organizations such as Evanston, the Evanston Public Library, and Northwestern University's Science and Society to bring workshops of interest in areas like coding and robotics. YOU is fortunate to work in a collaborative community, generous with resources. In all of the programming, we seek to work in partnership to enrich the lives of youth and families, to avoid duplication of services, and to work to close the opportunity gap and prepare all youth for post-secondary and life success. Do you have questions?
Firstly, I want to congratulate whoever wrote the application. Did you write the application?
I did not write.
Okay, whoever wrote the application, buy them coffee tomorrow.
I certainly will. Thank you.
The reason is, this may be the only application that I've read, and I may be wrong, that specifically drew out and highlighted what our funding priorities are. So the Mental Health Board spends a lot of time throughout the year going over those priorities. We fine-tune them, and they're very important to us. So to see them fleshed out in the application and how each priority is addressed is very, very good.
Thank
so
you.
I'm very happy about that. If I remember correctly, last year, Alderman Ruth Simmons from the 5th Ward was rightly quite critical of the program because of the lack of 5th Ward involvement with 5th Ward students. And so I noticed this year, in your presentation, but also in the application questions, there's a lot more.
Yes.
So are these new initiatives taken on because of that criticism?
That's a good, I think part of there, I would say it's twofold. Part of it is from the feedback. It also was always our intention when coming into the space to have greater engagement within the 5th Ward. And we have since, we have a council that we have formed with Alderman Simmons. With 5th Ward representation, we have a 3-pronged approach to ensuring that we are engaging 5th Ward participants in our building. The first one is really through recruiting and making sure we're getting 5th Ward youth into our programming. We serve all of Evanston by serving ETHS, and we don't have enough 5th Ward representation in that programming there and in our other sites. We are also we've developed programming on that I refer to our quarterly Saturday programs that we are working with the council to design. For example, we had a community farm day over the summer, which took advantage of our really wonderful farm in the backyard, garden in the backyard, and using a farm to table kind of approach, working with Chef Q to really engage and bring in our neighbors. And then we're also opening up our building really for 5th Ward partners to do their own programming in our building. And we have a lot of that going on right now. For example, we had a financial literacy program that went throughout the summer, which was very well attended. And we definitely heard the feedback and want to be a very open, we want our doors open and to be seen as a neighbor that everyone can come in and.
Yeah, because I remember the conversation about and I asked that question in the packet about Title I schools.
Right.
And 5th Ward students, a lot of them don't attend Title I students just because of how it's district. But I think this strategy of doing weekend things and after hours is a good response to that.
Thank you.
I see one of the extra questions was about your fundraising goals and how realistic are those?
I think they're
anything special.
They're very conservative goals, actually based on our past. We've already raised 60% of our goals, so that's a good place to be this early in our fiscal year. Yes. We receive about 52% of our funding through federal and government grants, and we're looking to really diversify that as much as possible and build up. We have a very strong individual donor base here in Evanston. We're also looking to expand that. I think the area of growth for us is really around corporate and foundation giving. we get some very good foundation dollars, but given what we do in terms of really connecting youth to opportunity and connecting them to jobs and careers, I think it's a real natural fit for corporate donors. So having said all that, that takes time, and that's really not built into those projections. That's more out. So these I feel very confident of given our past, and it's based on historic numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
More question?
Yeah, I just wonder what percentage of your staff make up the community in which you serve?
It's over half. It's actually in our application. It's over half, and our staff that is actually in our sites is very much predominantly reflective of the students that we're serving.
You serve the whole city.
Yes, we do. We do.
Are you reflective of the whole city?
Well, yeah. Well, but our city, but our yes, but our students are predominantly students of color.
And that percentage of Fifth Ward's staff is?
Well, Fifth Ward staff.
Is there any?
Well, I actually don't know where everyone lives or comes from. We do have a couple people who do live in the Fifth Ward, but I don't know everyone's address. But yeah, yes, that helps. Thank you.
Okay, and to finish up, we have Impact Behavioral Health Partners.
Good evening. Thank you so much. My name is Patty Capuch. I'm the CEO of Impact Behavioral Health Partners. Our address is here in the Civic Center. We're 2100 Ridge Avenue. Actually, our offices are right across the street here. So it was really not too bad of a commute for us to get here tonight. Our web address is impactbehavioral.org. You can reach us at 847-866-2977. Impact provides, for those at home, we used to be called Housing Options for the Mentally Ill Incorporated. We now are Impact Behavioral Health Partners. So for 30 years, we've been providing affordable housing, clinical, and employment services for folks who are recovering from mental illness. I think one of the unique things about our program is that we provide true wraparound services. Our staff works together from each department really closely to try to ensure the success of our participants in the program, and they will highlight that for you in just a moment. One thing I want to do for sure is thank you all so much for your previous support of our programs and for your consideration this evening. We are a small organization. We could not fulfill our mission without your support, and I just want to make sure that you knew how grateful we were for that. With that, I'm going to introduce Kristen Johans, who is our Manager of Clinical Services, and Chris Knoper, who's our Employment Services Manager, to talk about our specific request. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kristen Johans. I'm the Clinical Services Manager at Impact Behavioral Health Partners, and I'm going to be talking about our clinical program. We are requesting $60,000 from the Mental Health Board to continue funding this program. Impact's Clinical Services Program is comprised of licensed mental health clinicians, a nurse, a clinical benefits specialist, and a contract psychiatrist. We provide individualized and person-centered mental health services to our participants that are living in our permanent supportive housing units, along with some individuals who are living independently in the community. The majority of our clinical services are home-based community support services and can include anywhere from case management to individual and group therapy and counseling. We do daily living skills training, medication monitoring. We provide rep pay services, as well as nursing and psychiatry services. Our clinical services are typically provided on a weekly basis, but are also very tailored towards an individual's need. We are flexible enough in our approach to be able to increase and decrease our services as needed by each individual situation. And our agency utilizes a trauma-informed approach to providing services, along with using harm reduction and a housing first model. With the support of our clinical services, participants are able to demonstrate progress in housing stability, symptom management and reduction, improving their coping skills, improvements with social dynamics and family relationships, as well as improvements with overall quality of life. The generous support of the Mental Health Board funding over the years has allowed us to maintain a full-time nurse on staff in our clinical program. Having a nurse on staff is a very important component of providing our well-rounded and comprehensive services to participants. It's well documented that the lifespan of an individual with severe mental illness is shorter than compared to the general population, and there's a high rate of comorbidity with physical illnesses that individuals with mental illness experience. For this reason, having a nurse be able to provide direct service to participants such as education and health prevention, along with advocacy and care coordination, have proven to be such a vital part of the holistic services that we provide at Impact. The nurse has been able to provide direct service to more than 60% of the participants in the clinical program so far this year. Another way that the Mental Health Board funding has been so vital for our clinical program is that with this funding, it also allows us to continue providing consistent and comprehensive services to all participants, regardless of unexpected changes to insurance or income. We work with individuals on trying to address and fix issues with insurance or changes to their income rather than terminating their services. This allows our participants to continue receiving the vital services we can provide, especially during a time when they often need the support the most. So now I'm going to turn it over to Chris, who will talk about the employment program.
Hi everybody, Chris Knoper. I'm the Employment Services Manager at Impact. I'm going to be talking to you about our application to the CDBG funding for $20,000 to support our employment services program. In short, our program operates on the IPS model of employment, supported employment for individuals with mental illness. Briefly, it's individualized services, helping individuals find employment that meets their needs and desires and passion, and helping them to retain that employment until they are capable of keeping that job on their own. Part of that includes us networking with employers to find out what those employers need and ensure that we're making a good fit when we help someone find a job. One thing we pride ourselves on is being one of the premier providers of this type of service in the state of Illinois. We are rigorously reviewed every year by the state of Illinois on our adherence to this model, which is laid out in the application, so I won't get into the details. But we received this year exemplary fidelity to the model, showing that we are really good at providing this service in the way that it was designed to and the way that all the research says works. Furthermore, we produce really good outcomes for our participants. For our Evanston clients, 58% of the people that we work with or are working with have found employment. I just received an email from the National IPS organization stating that the national average for the type of program that we run is 44%. So significantly higher, and that's true for the state of Illinois as well. And in addition, one thing that we look at that not a lot of programs look at, because it's kind of a nerve-wracking thing to track, is job retention. So our program, individuals that find employment, 82% of them are able to retain that job, which is really, it's a pretty good number for the population that we serve and the struggles that they face from day to day. Consistently, throughout the years that we've received funding from CDBG, we've increased our goals and the number of people we serve. And that's what we would like to continue to do with this funding. Part of the way we do that is reaching out to other organizations in the Evanston area and working with them to provide their clients with this service. And then I'm just going to finish with an example of a client success story. This individual came to Impact after 11 years of homelessness. He was housed and received clinical services from our great clinicians, met with our nurse to address some medical concerns, and was able to obtain Medicaid, health insurance, and also work with the General Assistance Program to obtain resources to live He was then referred to our program in 2017, and through the assistance of our employment specialist, he was able to find a job at the Illinois Holocaust Museum as a part-time janitor. After a year of work and support and progress, in July he was offered a full-time job, which included health benefits and all the benefits of being a full-time employee. He is now currently working on getting his own apartment and would like to buy a car, and also is interested in starting his own business in the janitorial field. Any questions?
Yeah, just to comment, I've often thought that the employment program is really exemplary, and you guys get amazing results with very difficult and sometimes frustrating experience where you work and work to get a job, and then people drop out or quit the job after a short time. So I think that's amazing, and I was really happy to hear that the agency's going after housing, because that's really the purpose. And I've been a bit critical, I have to admit, in the past of providing just nursing services to the same people over and over. But housing is a great goal, and it looks like you're looking for 10 next year.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, that wraps it up. Do we have any staff or citizen comment?
No staff.
Staff comment. Anyone have anything to say that they haven't said? We're good. Okay.
What would this city do without these people?
Absolutely. Very, very lovely place. We're ready to adjourn, Jessica. Motion to adjourn.
Second.